really hate that this happened. I've been having camera problems, so there's not going to be any camera video of me, even though I thought I was recording it the whole time. But the camera messed up, and I hate to do time-sensitive videos like this, but I literally caught it at like 0 views, and still was only 5 views towards the end of it. So sorry, but I hope you enjoy the video.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Adam Shredder from Winter is Coming. This is totally like a on-the-fly type of video, just because I want to try to keep up with the current events that are going on. I just released a recent video about As I Lay Dying. I'm sure if any of you are following it, there's been a lot of drama going on in that camp, and a lot of recent changes. And all of a sudden, 2 things just happened really quickly. For one, everyone this whole time has been waiting for a response from As I Lay Dying. The tour, no response except for the other bands on the tour. Every other member, including their tour manager, all of them quit and have statements and everything. And this whole time, no official statement from Tim or the As I Lay Dying socials, except for the weird situation about their, not their current album that's about to release, but their last album, that it was taken down for a little bit, and like the post was very vague. It didn't talk about any of the drama going on. It just kind of spoke on the reason why, or at least they were saying the reason why it was down was some sort of a licensing deal. Pretty sure everyone else is more skeptical that it's probably has something to do with all of this drama going on. But anyway, there's for one, a statement that came out a couple hours ago, and then I was just randomly going through YouTube, and I couldn't believe it. I found an interview. There's an interview with Tim Lambesis. I caught the video when it had like literally no views. I don't know how I caught it. It's a small channel. I've never heard of the channel. And I listened through the video a little bit towards the beginning, but I haven't heard the whole thing because I wanted to do this as soon as I could, because I doubt this quickly anyone else has jumped on this. But it had no views, and I listened to it, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is like an old video or something, and they're talking about recent stuff, at least the music side of it. So I haven't listened the whole way through. There's a chance that he touches on some of the things going on, some of the drama going on with the band. But first, just to catch everyone up, I'll read the statement. So they say, "Hi, everyone. I needed some time." This is probably Tim talking, as I'm assuming from his perspective. "Hi, everyone. I needed some time to process all that has happened recently with As I Lay Dying. As I reflect, I certainly agree that there was an unhealthy environment that made leaving for a new tour with the previous lineup unrealistic. It had become difficult to figure out even the smallest details, and I admit I can stick strong to my vision for the future of As I Lay Dying, even when others think it should go another direction. It saddens me to think about the behaviors, communication, and patterns of interaction that led up to the tour cancellation. Phil and I no longer saw eye to personally, creatively, or financially." I'm assuming he meant saw eye to eye. I don't know. "Discussions during this time prompted his decision to depart first, with each of the touring members deciding to leave shortly after, as they were not interested in going on without him. Fortunately, that wasn't the order in which everything was made public, as some statements were rushed out during a chaotic time in response to rumors." Yeah, I remember, I think it was Ryan Neff of Miss May I, who was playing bass and singing, doing clean vocals. I think it was him first. Then I think the tour manager, rhythm guitar and drummer, and then Phil. I think that was the order, but something like that. I guess Tim's saying that wasn't, that I guess it was Phil first. From Tim's perspective, this is all what Tim's saying. "I fully support each of the guys' decisions to leave and believe at this time it is best for everyone. With that being said, my door will always remain open to discussing anything directly, as I believe closing communication lead to many assumptions and problems of its own. Now, regarding what's next, As I Lay Dying was founded on persistence and determination. For anyone who is familiar with the foundational years from 2000 to 2004, you know that more than 20 people, whom I'm incredibly grateful for, have come and gone to help bring to life this vision I've had in my head since I was 19 years old. I look forward to building a new team and creating an atmosphere that is supportive, positive, and fosters a creative environment. Through Storms Ahead will still be released November 15. I'm proud of what we created and look forward to sharing it with all of you. Sorry, Tim. So yeah, and then I'm pretty sure, unless I'm going crazy, I'm pretty sure this interview that just came out 18 minutes ago has 5 views. Yeah, talking about, it's very vague. It just says we had a very interesting talk with Tim Lambesis from As I Lay. There's no date. No one has any comments or anything that I'm seeing, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're talking about the recent album. So I'll put my headphones on. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Hi Tim, good to meet you. Welcome to Metal Exposure. It's a pleasure to actually have you, in a meeting with us here today.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. And you sound great. I probably should have hooked up a microphone now that I think about
I
it.
had the pleasure of listening to the new album Through Storms Ahead earlier.
Yeah, Through Storms Ahead, which I want to say, yeah, that's the album.
And it's for me, it felt very much a sort of return to your roots, but also a natural progression of the sound. So balancing those two things was very impressive. Did you intentionally go about doing that, or is that just something that I've picked up?
No, I appreciate that you picked that up because it's a little bit of this push and pull within the band in a good way. You know, that's sometimes I think creative tension is important. Phil, as a guitar player, is very, very much interested in different ways to advance and to expand as a guitar player. But then I'm always there to sort of remind, like, hey, guitar is so important. It's the primary way that we write songs. You know, Phil and I both play guitar, but we have to see the big picture, and the big picture a lot of times down to sometimes simplicity and these older styles of melodies that you could like sing in your head because they're not so intricate. And finding that balance and making the both of us happy, and I think in trying to find a compromise, we've presented the record as you've described.
Excellent. I mean, you've been as a band, you've been around for since the early 2000s, if I remember correctly, so about 20 odd years, and over that time, a lot of the metalcore scene has developed and changed, but you've managed to maintain very much that sort of core sound, and it doesn't matter which track you listen to, you still get the impression that this is something different, but it's, you know who it is, it's As I Lay Dying. Do you think that being able to maintain your sound and not necessarily get drawn into too many of the fads and the different directions that have actually made you more sustainable with your fans and actually made you get bigger rather than just following the trends and getting short-term wins?
Yeah, it's interesting because I enjoy like a lot of these newer movements, like what the deathcore genre is doing.
Yeah.
And I've grown up like listening to thrash metal and everything, but sometimes with certain subgenres, there's like a lack of melody to where it's hard to know which band you're listening to, right? And so with As I Lay Dying, it's like, well, there's got to be something within. I love like pushing the heavier boundary. We have a song like We Are the Dead that pushes the fear side, but I want it to be like, well, it's still memorable in the sense that it's that it's an As I Lay Dying song, right? And then when we get to the melodic side, I really pushed Ryan and wanted him to sing more on this record because I think as an additional vocalist and him having his debut, so to speak, he did such an incredible job. I just really wanted, just was really proud of his addition to the band. And so even when we'd have a very, very melodically driven song, we'd still find that way to insert just enough heaviness that it felt like us as well. It's like finding that balance, like you're saying. it's making it identifiable that if you're hearing a playlist of 20 bands and an As a Dying song comes on, it still feels like us. And occasionally with other genres, like, and I always use deathcore as the example. If you put on a playlist of 10 deathcore bands, I might not know when it switched from one band to the next, you know?
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Yeah, completely that. I mean, you mentioned We Are the Dead there. That was a collaboration, Alex Turble and Tom Barber, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so I mean, speaking of Ryan's addition as a vocalist, I got really addicted to this idea that
Speaking of Ryan, I probably need to go listen to more Miss May I, because like I was not familiar with his vocals. Like I was really impressed. Like I mean, don't get me wrong, their OG stuff is always gonna be like legendary metalcore stuff, but those new vocals, especially the cleans from Ryan, like really good.
um, you know, I can write a song foundationally with my verses and lyrics the way that I want, and there's going to be a natural amount of diversity because Ryan's going to come in at some point, and the weight doesn't all fall on my shoulders, right? And then I wrote the demo for We Are the Dead, and I, as a guitar player, I play guitar behind the scenes, and occasionally I'll bring in a song, and of course Phil will refine it and make it even better. But the idea there was like, hey, you know what? I want a song that's just relentless, start to finish, no traditional chorus, right?
Mm.
But then when I was done with it, I was like, well, I'm kind of sick of hearing my own voice for 3 minutes straight. You know, and so then I started bouncing around some ideas, and actually, the first two that I brought up were Alex and Tom, and so fortunately, we have enough history and friendship there that those both worked out, and so the song got to come to life exactly as I envisioned it, which is always really cool from a songwriter standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and the finished result is really impressive, just exactly as you described. So it's very nice when you have something in your head and you have like a vision of how it should be, and then you're actually able to create it. Then that must be very rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that one of the creative tensions that are good is like I view something a certain way, and then Phil might view it a different way, and then now we have these other guys, and they're coming in and they're bringing in a perspective we might not have thought of, and so sometimes a song like We're the Dead, it was able to get brought to life very similar to how I wrote. Actually, the demo and the final product are extremely similar, but in other songs, it's the opposite. It's like, well, it's being pulled away from the original vision by the other guys that makes the song exciting. And Burden is probably a perfect example of that song got pulled actually in a totally different direction than it was based on some idea that Phil had written, but I had sort of like repackaged it into a new song and then brought that to our producer, and then it got repackaged a third time into what it is now. And so sometimes going away from the original vision is part of the excitement as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that like the drama happening with the band's more complicated than that. I'm sure, but I still feel like this could be a contributing factor because me playing in my band, that's part of the reason why I've gotten to the point of just writing a lot of the stuff myself, because there can be that frustration of like, the saying too many cooks in the kitchen. You have like, one person that's a visionary and then someone else changes it. And when you're talking about a band like As I Lay Dying that's at the scale that they're at, you got like, writers, producers, engineers, the record label. I mean, you got so many different people that, they all want to throw in their 2 cents. And I mean, I've been in situations like that where it feels like it's just going in a circle. It can get real frustrating. So, I mean, all the old, I'm not saying like, I have no idea. There's a good chance. I'm sure there's more to the story. I'm sure there's some other crazy stuff going on in the background that no one's talking about, but like, I doubt that it's this simple, but I'm sure I've done band stuff for a while to where this is the kind of stuff that can lead to tearing people apart. And a lot of the time it can just be like creative differences. But I remember from everyone's statements, they talked about like their health, their other things. Guaranteed, like I'm just saying this could have been a contributing factor, but guaranteed there's more to it than this. But this seems like it could be part of it.
Yeah, no, that's it's very rewarding. I mean, whatever you end up doing, it's so long as you're happy with the finished product, that's the key, isn't it? That you are confident with it and that you're happy and you're telling your story in your way. And it's good to have a good producer and a good team around you to help to bring that to life. But it's still got to be your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the album as a whole, it's a very introspective album, right? I mean, what were the things that kind of influenced your decision to go down this path with this